guess what? It's story time! I have no idea what story I'm telling, so let me just pick one of these things out. I'm actually kind of scared doing this live. I usually give myself time to think about what I'm going to be talking about. Oh, fun! Okay. This is going to be fun. I always get that look on my face when I pull one out. It's just like, but, you know, what can you do? Okay, so this story happened when I was about 21, I think. I may have been younger. I worked as a delivery girl of sorts. But I didn't drive. I still don't drive. Shush. I worked as an on-foot delivery girl throughout the inner city. So during the morning, I would take a trolley of food through some corporate offices and would sell morning tea. I actually made one of my best friends that way. Hi! I worked for a catering company in my early 20s. Like, I didn't really mind the job. It wasn't something I wanted to see myself doing, like, 100 years into the future type thing. But it was a good starting point for me in life. Now, working for this catering company, I did some food prep, but mostly I did on-foot delivery. This would range from doing a morning tea trolley through corporate offices, all the way through to delivering corporate catering to, like, conferences and meetings. So literally that's what I did. It wasn't fancy. It paid well though. And some of the girls I worked with were really fantastic. Now, this story that I'm going to tell you guys happened around the time everything started changing. Like, I just left my ex-fiance. I was trying to get my life together. I'd had a whole bunch of friends who more or less agreed with my ex, side with him and leave me behind, which, hey, their prerogative. Now, alongside with all of this, my bosses had a rule of you can't have your mobile phone on you. Now, I understood this completely. Like, I didn't like it, but they didn't want me to, run the risk of getting bored and playing on my phone, or possibly getting it lost or stolen. Like, there was a lot of reasons not to. However, working in the city centre, I never felt quite safe, especially not having just left my ex. So I kept asking them, look, just buy a dummy phone. All it has to be able to do is call the workplace and the cops. All they would have literally had to have done was get like a $5 burner phone, which has nothing smart about it, literally just type it like text and call, on a cheap $10 plan. To which I could have then, in case of emergency, called the police. Or if something went wrong with delivery, I could have contacted them or the people I'm supposed to be delivering it to. Like, it would have just given me that bit more security in my position. But they weren't going to budge on it, and when the boss says, no, you generally can't push them past it. And that's fine, but I felt as though I would have been a bit safer this one day. I got sent out to do my usual morning trolley run. So here I was, lugging around this huge trolley. Now, I say it's a huge trolley because at this point it still was. It had a pie warmer on it. And literally the whole thing of the finances of selling off this trolley was literally me walking around with a bum bag. Or a fanny pack, or whatever you call it. And the clip was broken. So it wasn't overly secure. They were in the process of procuring it because the clip had only, like, broken the day before, I think. Like, I went on this round to do the morning trolley run. I was walking to my first destination, and as I was walking amongst this courtyard of these tall buildings, this homeless man came out. Now, it was about 9 o'clock in the morning, maybe 8:30. Pretty sure it was 9 o'clock. No, it wasn't. 10 o'clock, sorry. 9 o'clock was when I started. It was about 10 o'clock in the morning for morning tea run. But this guy stumbled towards me, already drunk, and pulled out a broken bit of glass, pointed at me, and said something along the lines of, "Give me all your money, or I swear to God, I will effing cut you." Now, keep in mind, the younger version of me was a lot meeker than I am right now. Like, you try that shit with me now, yeah, okay, I'm still going to freak out, but I am going to tell you where to stick it. All I would have had to done was literally take this backpack off and throw it at him. But I wasn't on the best terms with my bosses at the time due to there being an excessively light workload, and due to a contract being signed prior, they were contractually obliged to keep bringing me in for daily shifts even though they couldn't actually afford to keep me. But I didn't want to piss them off, so I tried to stand strong in my stance here. I turned to him, I yelled quite loudly to back off because I know karate and I would break every bone in his body if he tried it. That was a huge lie. Like, in a test of strength one day, my husband got me to punch him in the arm. And do you want to know what? I hurt my wrist. And he laughed at me because it's sad and funny. But no, it was scary. Because he tried to run at me, so I pulled the only pose I really knew how to pull, which was front foot forward and into a kind of fighting stance. It wasn't even remotely professional or good looking, and it probably didn't look right at all. Anyone who knows how to fight probably would have cracked up laughing at me. But he stopped and stared at me for a moment. I'm like, "Oh, come on then." That was about the time he stopped even moving, put his arms down by his side, and pretty much just said, "Ah, fuck it," and left. I did the rest of my trolley run. I was visibly shaken, and a lot of people were asking if I was okay. I told a few people what happened, and they had security called. There was a sweep of the area. They couldn't find anyone, but by this point it had been about half an hour. And it only takes about half an hour to get from one side of the city centre to the other side. So by this point he could have been a decent way away. And when I got back, the bosses I had at the time, when I told them this, didn't seem to actually care. I told them that's why I wanted a phone. I wanted to be able to protect myself in an instance, to which their answer was, in an instance where something like that is happening, I'm not going to be able to call the police anyway. So why should they? Let that sink in for a moment. Like, I understood the logic itself. Yes, while something like that is happening, I can't call the cops because that's a moment of distraction where they can make a move. But after the fact, when they've turned and run, or when they've finally, left me alone in general, or I've gotten away and have been able to hide, that is when I'd be pulling my phone out and calling the emergency line for help. But that still wasn't enough to urge them to get a phone for protection. It never really surprised me that they were that way. They weren't exactly the nicest people to work for. But hey, a few months later, they lost quite a few clients. They didn't have enough work at all. So I went my separate way. And I've been happier since not working there. And if they're watching it, or the people who used to work there alongside me are watching it, hi! That's one thing I will always put forward though. If you're ever starting a job for the first time, or you've finally gotten that lucky break to get a job, because it's really not that easy to get a job. It is so hard. Make sure you know your basic rights and how to protect yourself, because there are a lot of places out there that will take advantage of you for that reason alone. But anyway, that's my story time. So give this video a thumbs up if you haven't already. As I've said before, I am posting mini vlogs on Instagram, and my Instagram is down below. I also have my Twitter linked below as well, so you can get a heads up if you have not got notifications for YouTube turned on. And I will catch you guys later. Bye!